The top stories tonight on Y News. The Commission on Elections refuted claims of some overseas absentee voters that they received pre-shaded ballots. Know what voters should do when they receive tampered ballots.
Thousands of families were evacuated as Agaton ripped through the eastern and central Visayas. The government, meanwhile, assures assistance to typhoon-hit residents.
A Senate panel will be naming several individuals allegedly involved in the smuggling of vegetables in the country.
Meanwhile, an uptick in generation charge will lead to higher bills this April for Meralco consumers.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Monday, April 11, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am Herlene Delgado.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news. The Commission on Elections has refuted claims of pre-shaded ballots in Singapore and Dubai, warning that complaints can be filed against fake news spreaders. Dante Almento has the story.
The Commission on Elections denies the alleged pre-shaded ballots in Dubai and Singapore. Overseas Absentee Voting Commissioner in Charge Marlon Casquejo explains a voter must not accept pre-shaded ballot but it should immediately be reported instead.
Kapag doon pa lang, kapag nakita na ng botante na may shaded ballots na, hindi na tatanggapin dapat ni botante yun. So automatic dapat i-report niya agad. I-report niya agad doon sa SBI, sasabihin niya, Ma'am, sir, may balota, may shade na po yung balota.
Commissioner George Erwin Garcia says they are expecting such information, particularly during the May 9, 2022 elections.
Madali pong malaman niya, madali pong makita yung mismong nasa post, number 1. Number 2, yung lahat ng watchers and observers na present sa lahat ng polling places kung nasaan yung ating pagboto, madali pong i-report yun.
The Commission reminds anew the public that they created a task force against fake news to probe misinformation on the electoral process. Filing of cases will be possible with the assistance of the Justice Department and the National Bureau of Investigation. Meanwhile, to expedite the accommodation of overseas absentee voters in Hong Kong, the poll body will deploy additional vote counting machines or VCMs. There are a total of 93,625 registered voters in Hong Kong.
By tomorrow or by Wednesday, not only 5 po yung ating existing VCMs doon, kundi maging 10. 10 na po. So that is to cater the influx of our overseas voters, lalo na kapag holidays and weekends. Marami talagang pumupunta, Sundays, pumupunta doon sa voting centers.
Casquejo says there is no cut-off in the number of voters in different voting centers, including Philippine embassies or consulates abroad. Casquejo added, the early closure of voting in Hong Kong yesterday is due to the complaint by Hong Kong authorities over reported violation of health protocols.
Wala pong cut-off yung ating post, kundi tuloy-tuloy pa rin nila tanggapin yung mga nandun na mismo in-person voting, nandun na mismo sa polling centers. Kapag nandun ka na, then the post can extend its time. Pwede i-extend ni post yung oras ng pagboto kahit lampas na doon sa voting period.
In the next few days, the Comelec will also release the precinct finder that can help Filipino voters. Dante Almento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
In other news, passengers flocked to the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange or PITX to catch buses headed to southern Luzon provinces in time for the long weekend. The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, ensures enough bus units for travelers. JP Nunez will give us the details live. Good evening, JP. Go ahead.
Yes, William, good evening. Days before the long weekend, passengers going to their provinces are already swarming the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange. The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, will recalibrate its scheme to assure enough bus units for the expected surge of passengers. LTFRB Chairman Martin Delgra said they will address the demand of public buses during the peak of passengers going to the provinces.
Inatasan ko yung mga tao ko today to review the service plan. Ang tawag sa service plan, yung deployment ng unit. Kasi technically, when you talk about transport planning, it's really about having to supply the necessary unit to address demand. Ngayon, maintindihan naman din natin na yung demand unusual dahil nga peak season. Kaya I need to address this today. I called on my people para matawagan yung mga co-ops, no?
Metropolitan Manila Development Authority expects number of passengers may subside on the actual date of the long weekend.
Iaaralin po ng LTFRB yung plano para dito sa mga terminal para po ma-ensure na may enough na buses na ma-accommodate yung ating mga mananakay. Ang maganda lang po, hindi po nag-ipon-ipon sa Wednesday. At least ngayon, Lunes pa lamang, ay nagsisimula na. Napakarami na pong pasahero talaga na umuuwi ng probinsya.
As of today, personnel from the MMDA and Interagency Task Force for Traffic are deployed at the PITX. They are assigned to ensure minimum public health standards are being observed. There are also complaint and assistance desks placed inside the terminal to assist passengers for their queries. Passengers are reminded that they should keep wearing face masks, avoid eating and talking while inside the bus to prevent the spread of COVID-19 virus. William, the MMDA announced that starting tomorrow, they will suspend the number coding scheme and will resume its implementation by Monday. That is our latest live. Back to you, William.
Thank you, JP Nunez, reporting live.
The National Capital Region Police Office, or NCRPO, is now on full alert as part of security preparations for the long holiday. Leia Ilagan has it.
No threats have been monitored so far in Metro Manila for the long holiday. However, National Capital Region Police Office, or NCRPO Director, Police Major General Felipe Natividad said police would still secure places of convergence such as malls, terminals, and ports.
Meron no tayo yung mga masasama nating mga elemento sa komunidad, gaya ng mga mandurukot, yung mga ganyan, they might take advantage. So, kaya po tayo nagde-deploy ng ating mga pulis dito po sa buong Metro Manila, dito po sa NCR.
Under a full alert status, police personnel are prohibited to go on leave or take a day off.
Pagka po tayo naka-alert, naka-full alert, talaga po ng mga pulis natin, kailangan po muna siyempre mauna ang ating serbisyo. So, dito po sa NCR, not only this Holy Week, but of course, doon po sa mga darating na mga okasyon, no, gaya po ng May 1, yan po yung ating pong election, especially the election. Talaga pong we really need more police personnel on the street, kaya po yung sinabi pong day off, medyo hindi pa po natin maigagrant yung kanilang day off. Most probably after po nitong ating mga pagdadaanan ng mga activity or ito mga okasyon na importante na ito na kailangan nating magtalaga ng mas maraming pulis sa lansangan.
The NCRPO reminds the public to strictly comply with the health protocols against COVID-19 and be vigilant against criminals. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the possible surge of a more infectious recombinant variant of COVID-19 dubbed as Omicron XE in the Philippines have caused alarm among a group of private hospitals. Aiko Miguel explains why.
Based on the latest report of the Department of Health, out of the 66.5 million fully vaccinated Filipinos, only 12.3 million individuals have received their booster dose. The Private Hospitals Association of the Philippines Incorporated or PHAPI expressed alarm over the waning immunity of COVID-19 vaccines over time.
Yung bagong variant, baka halos mild din lang, ano? Pero ang sa study nila, pagka after fully vaccinated ka, after around 6 months, ay parang humihina na ang immunity mo. Kaya ngayon, nagbibigay na talaga sila ng booster dose. No? Hindi na natin hintayin na pumunta sila sa mga clinics at saka local government units. Dapat siguro puntahan natin sila. Yung mga hindi nagpabakuna, puntahan na doon sa kanilang mga bahay-bahay at doon sila bigyan ng bakuna, ng booster dose.
PHAPI President Dr. Jose Rene de Grano also said a resurgence may possibly happen in the next months due to Omicron XE.
Ang worry natin, baka bigla pa rin magkaroon ng surge anytime because of the yung luwag natin and then yun nga mga campaign sorties in the coming weeks, kasi election na on May.
PHAPI is also concerned about supporters of candidates attending campaigns who are no longer adhering to health and safety protocols against COVID-19.
Kita nyo naman, ang daming tao talaga. Wala na social distancing doon. Hopefully naman, nakamask sila. Pero siyempre, sumisigaw sila.
PHAPI supports the administration of fourth dose to some sectors to provide them additional protection against COVID-19.
Lahat ay tatamaan, walang pinipiling age group. Pero ang nagkakaroon ng problema ay ang mga elderly at saka yung may comorbidities pag tinamaan sila nitong bagong variant.
Health experts also strictly reminds the public to keep the social bubble among their family members for the long weekend. Also, unboosted individuals should take the opportunity to get their booster shots during the holiday. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government has called on the private sector to address the concerns about the slow utilization of available vaccines amid the election period. Janice Henta reports why.
Even though local officials are busy campaigning for the 2022 elections, the DILG assures that the government's COVID-19 vaccination program in the cities and municipalities will still continue and will not be neglected. DILG Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya calls on you for support from the private sector to strengthen the vaccination process, especially with experts saying that the country could experience a new surge of COVID-19.
Para po masiguro yung tuloy-tuloy na momentum natin dito sa pagbabakuna, kailangan po ng pamahalaan ng suporta ng pribadong sektor. Kailangan natin yung suporta ng mga ospital, mga clinic, to keep the momentum going.
Aside from this, the DILG said that LGUs are also focused on the house-to-house vaccination, especially in areas with low vaccination rates, such as in remote and far-flung areas in the provinces.
Ang Pangulong Duterte bigay na rin po ng direktiba sa mga LGUs na especially doon sa mga low areas, mga lugar na mababa ang vaccination, to do house-to-house vaccination. And hindi naman po dahil eleksyon na, ang DILG ay hindi naman ibig sabihin ay tumitigil na rin kami sa pagpapaalala sa ating mga LGUs. Nakatutok pa rin po ang DILG sa mga local government units.
The Philippines had already administered 143,966,310 doses of COVID-19 vaccines. Janice Henta, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Operation Agaton devastated parts of Leyte and Samar with strong winds and heavy rains. So far, one person was reported dead in the Davao region. Rosalie Cos reports.
More than 136,000 individuals have been affected by the onslaught of Agaton, according to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council or NDRRMC, particularly in Western Visayas, Central Visayas, Eastern Visayas, Northern Mindanao, Davao Region, Soc-Sargen, Caraga, and BARMM. There are about more than 13,000 individuals who were displaced and are temporarily staying in the evacuation centers. Moreover, NDRRMC reported one fatality in Region 11, while the injured persons were from Region 10. The person reported missing in Region 11 was still for validation.
Ngayong pong umaga, meron po tayong natatanggap na mga bali-balita tungkol sa mga karagdagan daw pong mga bilang ng mga kababayan nating na-disgrasya. Pero ito po ay ating binavalidate at biniverify pa rin sa ating mga kasamahan sa local government unit level. Kaya so far po, ang ating count pa rin ay 1 dead, 1 missing, and 2 injured as of this point.
The palace assures the executive branch is closely monitoring the track of Agaton and the government's hands are on deck to assist the affected residents. The NDRRMC is coordinating with disaster councils of affected areas to support relief activities. Malacanang appeals to affected residents to comply with precautionary measures and monitor recent weather advisories and bulletins. Also, immediately coordinate with authorities to seek assistance during emergencies. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
So watching our live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
The Manila Electric Company mitigates power rate increase this month. Meanwhile, Meralco prepares for power failure in Election Day. Asher Cadapan Jr. explains why.
The Manila Electric Company finds ways to avoid further burdening electric consumers amid all the price hikes in petroleum products and other commodities. But inevitably, Meralco rate this month increased anew, primarily due to upward adjustments in generation charges and peso-dollar exchange rate. The rate increased by about 53 centavos per kilowatt hour, which will be reflected in Meralco bills this April. This is equivalent to an additional 107 pesos in bills of residential customers consuming 200 kilowatt hour, 161 pesos for those consuming 300 kilowatt hour, 215 pesos for 400 kilowatt hour, and 268 pesos for 500 kilowatt hour. Meralco says this rate would have been higher had they not appealed to their suppliers to defer the cost to cushion its impact to their customers.
Ang total amount nga na i-defer for collection this April is around 1.2 billion pesos. So, and the collection will be amortized without interest in May, June, and July, so over the next 3 months. So we estimate that the collection will be equivalent to around 15 centavos per kilowatt hour each month.
Meralco, however, assures very minimal to no brownout, especially during Election Day, based on their performance history. Despite this, the power distributor continuously deployed generator sets to strategic areas to assure power supply, primarily to polling precincts, among others.
Meron exercise na ginawa and based on that exercise, it showed to Fog's point nga, 99.9% wala kaming nakikitang concern. Sakaling meron man, may contingency measures in place kami.
Meralco further says the deferred bill may still be pulled down by other factors and it is early to tell whether the power rate in the following months will also increase. Asher Cadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board implements a new disservice contracting program and free rides beginning today in EDSA. The agency also increases the payout rate of participating operators and drivers of public utility vehicles. Asher Cadapan Jr. tells us why.
Operators and drivers of public utility vehicles have been severely affected by the price increase of petroleum products. With this, the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board increased the payout rate for PUVs joining the service contracting program. The program has also expanded to serve not only operators of public utility bus but also for jeepneys, UV Express, and other modes of transportation.
Ito po ay dinagdag natin sa ating matrix of computation po, no? Dahil umaangat nga po ang presyo ng petrol tax. Kaya dati po ang ating pong bus dito sa EDSA busway, 82 kilometer po ang bayad. Ngayon po ay 84 pesos per kilometer na po. Gayon din po sa ating mga jeep. At sa bus po, dinagdagan po natin yan mula po 54 pesos, naging 55 pesos per kilometer na rin po sila.
Today, the LTFRB initially implemented the service contracting program and its benefit of free ride to its passengers. Although LTFRB later today confirms that the program also commences in other routes in some areas across the country. Passengers in EDSA busway, however, expressed relief and gratitude in such aid provided by the government.
Nakakatipid kami at the same time. At saka with regards with that, it's convenient talaga. Sobrang laking tulong po. Sana nga po araw-araw naiisip namin hanggang kailan po kaya yung libreng sakay.
The LTFRB plans to augment the number of buses plying EDSA busway, especially during the long holiday, as all rail lines temporarily suspend their operation to give way to their annual maintenance activities. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
A Senate panel will be naming several individuals allegedly involved in the smuggling of vegetables in the country. Harleen Delgado reports why.
The Senate Committee of the Whole will continue its probe on the unabated smuggling of vegetables in the country tomorrow, Tuesday. Senate President Vicente Soto III, who also sits as the committee chairperson, reveals he will be naming 4 individuals who were allegedly behind the smuggling of agricultural products. According to the Senate leader, a whistleblower who refused to be named gave him the information, and he hopes to verify this in tomorrow's hearing.
Yung 4 na pangalan na nakarating sa akin, tatanungin ko yung mga resource persons kung ano ang pagkakakilala nila sa mga yun. Sapagkat sa report sa akin, yun yung mga pangalan ng mga nasa likod ng vegetable smuggling. Tingnan natin ang magiging reaksyon ng DA, ng BOC. Hintayin natin. Ngayon, kung meron tayong magandang matanggap na impormasyon, din mapipilitan akong imbitahin yung 4 na yon, or kung ayaw umattend, susubpin na natin.
Soto adds the third hearing would be an avenue for the agricultural officials to comment on allegations in relation to the smuggling issue. And information from the Senate says Agriculture Secretary William Dar will not be able to attend the hearing but will be sending several representatives. During the second hearing on March 28, Department of Agriculture Assistant Secretary Federico Lasiste Jr. confirmed before the committee that there were former public officials who tried to influence him against going after smugglers. Soto plans to conclude the probe tomorrow so that the Office of the Ombudsman can start looking into the matter. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God. Presidential candidate Senator Panfilo Lacson identified a former Quezon City mayor who asked him to withdraw from the presidential race. Eileen Cerudo reports.
Presidential candidate Senator Panfilo Lacson claims former Quezon City Mayor Brigadier Jun Simon Jr. approached him in Pampanga last March 12 asking him to drop his candidacy. According to Lacson, Simon said they can also convince Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan to withdraw. This would give way to the tandem of Vice President Leni Robredo and Senate President Tito Soto III. Lacson said the former mayor kept requesting for an appointment with him numerous times. He also reiterated his stance on not withdrawing from the race as a response to Congressman Lito Atienza's call for the possible tandem of Manny Pacquiao and Tito Soto III.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it anymore. No? Natapos na yung issue, hindi naman talaga mangyayari. I've made my point. He already apologized for what he said, and I want to leave it at that.
Lacson said the issue is done and has reiterated that he will finish his campaign until the end of the election. Atienza already apologized to Lacson, to which the senator accepted.
Kung interesado siyang magkaroon ng Pacquiao-Soto, pwede rin naman, sinishare ko na nga eh. But to ask me to resign, no, hindi mangyayari yun because I already said my piece eh. Na I felt insulted nga the first time he asked for it. So babalik pa ba uli natin yung issue? It is a non-issue actually. No? Maski isang leg na lang yung itatakbo ko, I will finish the race. Maski crippled ako, I will crawl to finish the race. Yun ang aking position. So non-issue yung withdrawal.
Meanwhile, the Lacson-Soto tandem said they will no longer change their campaign strategy despite Lacson's low placement in presidential surveys. The team believes that their open forum and town hall meetings are great campaign strategies where they can reach out to the people. They also added that the survey results differ from the support they feel on the ground whenever they conduct sorties. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
A security analyst believes that the talks between President Rodrigo Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping is a positive development that will help ease the tensions in the West Philippine Sea. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
During the telephone summit last Friday, President Rodrigo Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping stressed the importance to exert all efforts to maintain peace, security, and stability in the South China Sea. According to Professor Romel Banlawi, a security analyst, the discussions of the two leaders will help ease the tensions in the West Philippine Sea.
Well, the meeting was helpful in terms of delivering a message that both countries remain interested in tackling their territorial disputes in the South China Sea peacefully.
Banlawi added that China wants to pursue the friendly policy of President Duterte up to the next administration.
Expressing hope that there will be no disruptions in the friendly policy of Duterte. So he's hoping that whoever wins in the May 2022 presidential election, the next Philippine government will remain friendly to China in order to sustain the cooperation.
With this commitment from the two countries, any security threat in the West Philippine Sea could be halted. This is also in relation to the possibility of the Ukrainian crisis spilling over into the South China Sea region and hence inevitably the Philippines.
Part of the overall efforts of the two countries to calm the rising tensions in the South China Sea.
Duterte and Xi during their meeting both expressed concern over Russia's invasion of Ukraine and renewed calls for a peaceful resolution through dialogue in accordance with international law. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, United Kingdom's Prime Minister Boris Johnson made a surprise in-person visit to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. May Vendog will give us the details live. Yes, Maeve, go ahead.
Marielle, UK and Ukraine's leaders held talks in Kyiv during the weekend, which was followed by Prime Minister Boris Johnson's announcement of a new package of financial and military aid for Ukraine. The UK pledged to send 120 armored vehicles, new anti-ship missile systems, and other non-lethal aid. This is in addition to the £100 million worth of high-grade military equipment already announced by UK last week. During the press conference by the two leaders, Prime Minister Johnson said that the UK will further intensify sanctions against Russia.
Together with our partners, we are going to ratchet up the economic pressure, and we will continue to intensify week by week the sanctions on Russia.
Furthermore, President Zelensky thanked the UK and Prime Minister Johnson in his nightly address posted on social media.
Борис був серед тих, хто не вагався жодної хвилини чи підтримувати Україну.
Лідерство Великої Британії у наданні нашій державі необхідної допомоги, передусім оборонної, а також і лідерство в санкційній політиці назавжди в історії.
Meanwhile, Austria's Chancellor Karl Nehammer also visited Ukraine and has provided the country with humanitarian aid along with helmets and protection vests for civilian use. Other European Union leaders from the Czech Republic, Poland, and Slovenia already conducted their visit to Ukraine last month, and their visit, including the UK Prime Ministers, were kept secret until they were in the country. Marielle?
Maeve, what is the current situation on the Ukrainian grounds?
At the latest, Marielle, President Zelensky has warned that the coming week will be crucial. This is because Russia has recently appointed a new military commander and was reported to be looking at concentrating the Russian troops' attacks on eastern Ukraine. Missile attacks are still happening in some cities, Marielle, particularly in the eastern part of Ukraine, which resulted to multiple evacuation efforts through trains that will transport people to Ukraine's western part. Back to you, Marielle.
Thank you, Maeve and Dog, for that live report. Thousands of travelers experienced major flight disruptions across the United Kingdom over the holiday. Ruth Bahe will tell us why live. Go ahead, Ruth.
Marielle, the growing number of passengers and staff shortages due to COVID infections caused flight delays at airports across the UK. Airlines like British Airways and EasyJet had more than 100 flights stranded between them, affecting around 15,000 to 20,000 passengers from their main bases in Heathrow, Gatwick, Birmingham, and Manchester. Manchester Group CEO Charlie Corners explained that staff shortages means that they cannot open all the security lanes, resulting long queues and waiting time between 60 to 90 minutes for the next 2 weeks. Passengers are encouraged to arrive at least 3 hours earlier before their flight to reach the departure gate on time. Meanwhile, all canceled flights by airlines due to staff sickness are for rebooking and cash refund if the airlines advise less than 2 weeks in advance. Marielle?
Ruth, aside from the UK who encountered major flight disruptions, are there any other countries that are experiencing the same problem?
Yes, Marielle, this issue can be seen as well in the USA, where airlines canceled flights due to staff sickness and bad weather conditions. According to flight tracking data from FlightAware, there were a total of 2,642 cancellations and 12,795 delays yesterday. Back to you, Marielle.
Thank you very much, Ruth Bahe, reporting live. Despite China's zero-COVID policy, the country faces trouble as rates of COVID-19 transmission increase due to the Omicron outbreak, while the peak is yet to happen. Marvidal Finn will tell us the details live. Yes, Marvi.
Marielle, over 11,000 recovered COVID-19 patients were recently sent back home in China's capital, Shanghai. However, just on Sunday, the city recorded 24,944, the highest ever recorded. Authorities have imposed snap lockdowns in Shanghai to keep transmissions down, but cases still increase, and now the city has accumulated over 179,000 cases since March. This has caused uncertainty with the effectiveness of Shanghai's already publicly criticized approach to limit the number of cases. The approach already had backlashes as the harsh lockdown restrictions led to children and parents separated in hospitals, as well as food shortages in access and distribution. Meanwhile, the imposed lockdowns have impacted the local economy heavily, and many, like the chairman of financial group Yelan Capital, Wang Feng, worry about further consequences of lockdowns on the crippling local economy if they are extended. Marielle?
Marvi, how has China's president responded to the public outcry regarding snap lockdowns?
Marielle, even with surging Omicron cases in China, President Xi Jinping remains optimistic and reassures that the zero COVID policy imposed on the country is an effective approach, defending it by stating that they have adhered to safety measures to prevent the country to cause a new epidemic. Back to you, Marielle.
Thank you, Marvidal Finn, for that live report. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison has announced that the 2022 federal election will be held on May 21st. The announcement has kick-started national polls, which so far shows Scott Morrison's Liberal Party losing votes as the opposition Labour Party promises a better future for Australia. In a press conference yesterday, Mr. Morrison highlighted that his government had kept unemployment low and the economy stable during the pandemic and urged voters to not risk a change to an uncertain future under the opposition. Meanwhile, Labour leader Anthony Albanese stated that his government would ease pressure on family budgets, highlighting that food, fuel, childcare and healthcare costs had jumped while wages stayed flat since coalition took office in 2013. Scott Morrison is the first prime minister to serve a full term in 15 years, following a period of political instability due to constant changes in government and appointment of prime ministers in the past few years. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Mariela Toza reporting live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
Our Kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the Global Prayer for Humanity from Monday to Friday, 9:30 p.m. Philippine time through the social media accounts of Members Church of God International.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of John, chapter 3, verse 16, it says, "For God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." And those are the reasons behind the news, April 11, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Harleen Delgado.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.